Can I have your attention, please? Attention. Guys, last call for public speaker cards. If you filled a card out and handed it in, you're good to go. If you've got a card in your hand, now is the time to turn it in. All right, thank you.
I now call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order at 7:05 p.m. Can you please call the roll?
Ms. Pearson?
Present.
Ms. Chavez?
Here.
Ms. McCall?
Present.
Ms. Bennett?
Here.
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Ms. Haley?
Here.
Ms. Stanford?
Here.
With 7 present, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We will now take a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. As we start each board meeting, it's important to remember that the mission of Rockford Public Schools is to collaboratively engage all students in an equitable first-class education for a changing world. Before we go any further, we would like to thank Kim Pedersen and Aaron Hill, who are working behind the scenes to produce the board's broadcast via YouTube live stream and Comcast Channel 20. We'd also like to welcome Superintendent's Student Advisory Council member, Karina Garcia, who's from East High School. And we will now move on to item agenda 2, recognitions, and will Ms. Stanford be, Ms. Stephanie Pearson will be leading the recognitions. Thank you.
Good evening. We are excited to honor our PS 205's outstanding staff, students, and coaches to celebrate their great achievements. After you hear your name or team called, please come forward to make your way through the inner circle to shake hands with school board members and the superintendent's cabinet. You will then proceed to the hallway where you will receive a certificate and patch and have an opportunity for photographs. Audience, please hold your applause until the end of each group. We apologize in advance if I pronounce any names incorrectly. Let's begin with academics. Last month, virtual enterprise students traveled to the annual Midwest Region Conference. This event brought together top schools from Illinois, Michigan, Iowa, Indiana, Minnesota, Kansas, Missouri, Ohio, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska. Students ran simulated businesses and competed in a variety of events. These included visual, written, and oral competitions. Tonight, we are celebrating something historic. For the first time ever since adopting the virtual enterprise curriculum, an RPS 205 student placed in the top 10 in the elevator pitch competition. That student is from Jefferson High School. Zaire McNeely represented his class company, Solar Sky. Zaire delivered his pitch twice, presenting to 2 separate panels of judges. His professionalism, confidence, and preparation stood out among competitors from across the Midwest. Please join me in congratulating Zaire McNeely for this outstanding achievement. The Rockford Area Arts Council recently announced Amina Givens of East High School as the first place winner of this year's regional Poetry Out Loud competition. With her powerful recitations of We Wear the Mask by Paul Lawrence Dunbar and Cross by Langston Hughes, Amina demonstrated confidence, depth, and a true understanding of the written word. As the first place winner, Amina advanced to compete at the Illinois State Poetry Out Loud competition, where she placed in the top 5. Amina, we congratulate you on this incredible accomplishment. Congrats. Oops, sorry. Next up, we have athletics. Eisenhower Middle School's 8th grade boys basketball team traveled to Taylorville High School near Springfield for the IESA 4A state tournament in February. The Eagles lost their first and only game against Quincy with a score of 51-45. The regional championship was a 62-61 win against Flynn with a basket at the buzzer near the hoop by 6'6" Mamadou Baker. The sectional final was another thriller against undefeated Lake Zurich North going into the game. Down 7-17 in the first half, Eisenhower had a comeback win with 45-42 for the sectional title. The Eisenhower team finished 23-4 after the season was completed. Congratulations to coaches Derek Branch, Derek Carlton, and Lamont Johnson, and the following players: Trenton Nicholson, Sharon Crawford, Naisiri West, Jerry Crosby, Mamadou Baker, Tavares Primus, Angel Diaz, Lamar McDonald, Anthony DiGiuseppe, Hayden Conkle, Victor Gully Jr., Makai Davis, Mason Carlton, Dylan Brown, and Kaylin Rogers. Congratulations to our state qualifiers for girls bowling, Sarah Legou and Isabella Barbudo of Guilford High School, and Alondra Gonzalez Herrera of East High School. Sarah took second at sectionals with an amazing 13:33 series and finished 15th at state with a 24:38 series. Isabella placed fourth in the wheelchair division at state with 768 pins. Alondra earned her spot at the IHA state finals by finishing in the top 5 at sectionals. She averaged 195 throughout the year, yet shot a 210 average on the day at sectionals to qualify for state and finished the 2-day state tournament with a 195 average, placing 37th overall in Illinois. This is especially meaningful because she is the first girl bowler from East High School to qualify for state in 4 years. We also want to thank their coaches, from Guilford, Kaylee Simers, and from East, Matt Mallon. Hi, congrats. The chess team at Guilford was seeding 18th and ended up with 3 overall wins. They had some standout performances from the individual students. Fern Kuntz received an overall medal of her score of 5.5, meaning she had 5 overall wins and a draw across 7 matches. Jameson Locher was the third best player on the team. Congratulations to Coach Emilio Rodriguez and students Malachi Yates, Lincoln Noble, Jameson Locher, Seraphim Ginlin, Edward Duran Salazar, Fern Kuntz, Joel Hernandez, Eduardo Martinez Velasquez, Cesar Alvarez, Ashton Haynes, and Happy Ibala. The Auburn High School team also went to state. Congratulations to coaches Joseph Guth and Ethan Vandekolk and the following team members: Yuvrov Shenareddy, Owen Chen, Alexander Truong, Ibrahim Brooks, Akif Azoy, Ibrahim Altaye, Xander Isael, Soren Swenson, Alexander Prasada, Leonardo Jeremio, and Richard Inthavong. All right. Boys wrestling, East High School and Coach Jean Lee had 4 state qualifiers: Sebastian Abwe, Victor Onifre, Tyquavian Smart, and Dana Wixon. And now, fine arts. Students from across RPS 205 have earned honors in the prestigious Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. That's the nation's longest running and most respected program celebrating creative excellence among young artists. This program recognizes students for originality, technical skill, and the development of a strong personal voice. Students compete in the 8-state Midwest region. Gold keys were awarded to the top 5 to 7% of entries and advanced to national judging in New York City. Silver keys were awarded to the top 7 to 10%. Honorable mentions were awarded to the top 10 to 15%. For Jefferson High School, under the direction of teachers Lynn Stockton and Diana Sanchez. For Gold Key Awards, Lita Luang Songcam and Miley Segala. Miley also earned a Silver Key Portfolio Award, as did Diana Santiago, Kaliana Ayala, and Julissa Porcayo. Honorable Mention Portfolio Award, Destiny Lazaro. Other honorable mention awards, Evelyn Averly, Madeline Dooley, Carly Hawley, Giancarlo Maya, Adeline Montoya, Christina Solis, Diana Santiago, and Brittany Cepeda. Auburn High School, same competition. Auburn High School, under the direction of teacher Elizabeth Wood. Gold Key Awards, advancing to national judging. Kavya Patel, Ruth Sabuyang Thamamagsa, Vivian Holsey, Yuretsi Escandan Zaragoza. Silver Key Awards were earned by Addie Larson, Addie Plath, Amaya Holland, Braden Velez, Colin Lester, Griffin Winstead, Ruth again, and Zephyr Ferris. Honorable mentions, Abigail Monahano, Addie Larson, Amaya Holland, Colin Lester, Elizabeth Lobato, and Ruth. This competition included middle school students who competed directly against high school seniors. 4 West Middle School students, under the direction of teacher Cassie Brooks, earned regional recognition. Gold Keys, advancing to nationals, Josephine Tortorici and Haley Palacios. Silver Keys was also Haley Palacios and Adelaide Beeman. National award announcements will be made in the spring, with top national honorees invited to New York City this summer. Please join us in congratulating all of these incredibly talented student artists. And now, congratulations to the class of 2026 Golden Apple Award recipients. The Golden Apple Foundation has been recognizing educators since the 1996-97 school year. Marshall Middle School librarian and publications teacher Chelsea Spinello Johnson is the first school librarian finalist, having moved from teaching literature in the classroom to revitalizing the school library this year as librarian. Chelsea is passionate about education and the power of books. Her goal is to continue building a space where books, technology, creativity, and relationships come together to make the library the heart and hub of her school community. Congrats. Bryce Thomas, Global Studies and African American History teacher at Guilford High School, believes education is one of the most powerful tools for transforming not just individual lives, but entire neighborhoods and generations. He commits to challenging students to understand the world by examining the conditions they live within and the historical forces that shaped those conditions. Bryce is also a JV head boys basketball coach, an assistant football coach, and club advisor for the GHS Student Athlete Leadership Team. These 2 educators will be recognized at the Golden Apple Awards banquet in April. And last, but certainly not least, Sarah Logeman, a newcomer ESL and math teacher at East High School, has been named a 2026 Global Educator of the Year by AFS USA. This national award honors educators who go above and beyond to promote global understanding, cultural connection, and meaningful learning experiences for students. Ms. Logeman works every day with newcomer students. She helps them build English skills, strengthen their math knowledge, and adjust to a new country, new school system, and new opportunities. Her classroom is a place where students feel welcomed, supported, and empowered to succeed. Being named a Global Educator of the Year is a remarkable achievement and a reflection of her dedication, compassion, and commitment to student success. Please join us in congratulating Sarah Logeman on this well-deserved honor. Congratulations, everyone. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Thank you for coming and have a good evening.
Thank you all. We are now moving on to the petitions and communications section of the meeting, where we invite the public to make comments. Hold on, please. Sorry, in the recognition section is item 2B, Summerdale School Success Presentation slide deck. I apologize for that.
I'm very excited to be here. Sorry about that, okay? In general, I'm quite loud, so I wanted to not be overwhelming, okay? Wow. First, I'm humbled by this opportunity and very gracious, especially following such an exciting presentation. But I'm always challenged to try to keep my excitement and my passion for Summerdale inside of the 10 minutes, but I have been told I have to, so I'm going to give it a shot, okay? I'm excited to highlight some of the magic happening within our school building. We have a magic staff there that I'm very happy to say is here tonight. If I could acknowledge, yes. And without these rock stars, we would not be knocking it out of the park at Summerdale. Some years ago, 8 to be exact, I became the principal there, and we have been working on making sure that every day we live this mission statement that we worked on together as leadership within the building. And it's a very powerful one. Our mission is to shift the culture of our community into one of equity and respect by developing and fostering positive, nurturing relationships with children and families, and in turn equipping them to solve conflicts and meet challenges with boldness and integrity. And when we came up with that, we actually cried. We were crying because we were so excited to share this and put it on our walls and with our families, and that is who we are. And this is Summerdale, and early childhood in Rockford is the very first opportunity for families to get hooked on the RPS experience and the excitement of how to do school and go to school and manage all of the excitement and emotions that go along with being at school. So this is posted throughout. Families get a copy of this at registration as well throughout our building. This is some of our demographics. Here, it's important to understand when I go through the next few slides that early childhood has something that's called a rolling enrollment, which means that, oops, didn't mean to roll there. A rolling enrollment. So when a child turns 3, they can start school. So these rock stars back here may have all of the expectations going on in their classroom and academics and such, and then boom, the next day you got a new 3-year-old and you start again, right? So it's incredible to think about that, the things that we're accomplishing at Summerdale when we have a rolling enrollment. So just keep that in mind. One of the metrics that we use to gauge our success, this is kind of like elementary has behavioral data or discipline data. This is how we work through that. This is called a behavior intervention report that teachers fill out when a child has a behavior. And it's exciting to look at some of this. This is how we gauge our success. If you kind of look at in the beginning of the year, when kids first come in, how many of them are, the percentage of birds that are written there was low because we give them a chance to get going and understand what's going on in the classroom, the expectations. And then if you look in September, there's quite a spike there. But now, when we made this slide in January, we're all the way down to just an average of about 3.1% of the birds there being reported in 7 students. And then today, when we were actually reflecting on this as a team, there's like 5 children in the school that we all know have a special program or a multi-tiered system that they're following for success. Okay, so that's pretty incredible for us. Some things we're doing at Summerdale that sets us apart is that we're piloting a new teacher PLC where our amazing mentor teachers and a panel of veteran teachers that are in the building are leading a support group, and we discuss topics that are important to the new teachers because we want to retain them. Early childhood can be difficult with some of the behaviors that we do not have the code of conduct, so a lot of our teachers have to morph their techniques and such through the lens of the pyramid, which is our SEL, social emotional framework. And that is one of the successes that we have. All the classrooms have tier 1 strategies being used. And one of the primary focuses is that we have less radio calls for crises then into the classrooms. We're fully staffed. Staff retention is good. People want to be part of Summerdale. Parent feedback is awesome on Seesaw. We're on there quite a bit. And we share a lot of the SEL tools that we use through the pyramid framework on Seesaw and in written form. We send them home to the families, like how to calm down, Tucker the turtle, how to tuck and think, and problem solve and be friends. Some of the other things we've done is we've had a resource fair during conferences to connect families with other resources inside of the community. I mentioned the pyramid framework. That is something that we really lean into, and we have an ongoing training process for incoming staff to receive that professional development so that they all know what the pyramid looks like, what's expected throughout the building. When you walk into Summerdale, there's expectations not only for the children and students, but for the staff in the hallways and the bathrooms, but also for any visitors, for adults. What does it look like? What are the expectations to be in a school? Some of the highlights of the pyramid also are that staff take ownership and run these modules once a week. So all new staff are brought up to date on the procedures that need to happen inside of the classroom to support student behavior and instruction. One thing I want to highlight is that we were monitored by ISB, the Illinois State Board of Education, and when they came through, Summerdale's scores were the highest in the early childhood community here in Rockford. And when that was thrown up, I actually cried a little bit. And it's because of the rock stars behind me here that we had those scores, okay? But I wanted to highlight that back on this slide of the things that we're doing here, piloting new teacher PLC, a majority of our scores were in the interaction department, were scored by new teachers. So that's very encouraging. So I'll now open it up to any questions that you had.
Does anyone have any questions?
I don't have any.
Oh.
I don't have any questions. Just simply want to say thank you. We know that early childhood is where it all began, and so that makes a significant difference in how our scholars matriculate through their educational career. So thank you.
Thank you. Excited to be here. Celebrate.
Oh, we have a couple more questions though before you go.
Oh, she didn't hear.
We have a couple more questions actually. If you can come back, we have a couple more questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. I was already gathering my items, I'm sorry.
That's okay, thank you. Ms. Excuse me, Ms. Bennett.
Yes, hello. I just had a quick question about, on the slide that has challenges, slide 5, it says students' needs are significant, require more adults than allocated at times, looking at resources, staffing. So I guess I just have 2 questions. When you're thinking about challenges or needs, what types of roles or resources or staffing are you thinking about, and the second part, are you partnering with RPS to kind of figure out what that would look like RPS central office to kind of figure out what that would look like?
Good question. So what we use in the building are a structure with our resource teachers. Each resource teacher is assigned a classroom and teachers that they support. And underneath the resource teachers come your SPED paras. And so we have building paras, so sometimes a child hasn't gone through the process of getting a one-on-one. So the resource teachers and myself and our behavior specialist, we kind of look at where things are hopping off and what kids need a little bit of extra support. So even if it's not on their official IEP, in order for them to be successful, we give them some support in the classroom. We can always use more support as far as resource teachers and well-trained SPED parents, who are trained in our building, by the way.
Okay, great. So it does sound like you are working with central office to figure out allocations and all that stuff.
Absolutely, yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Before you sit down, I was wondering, can we have your Summerdale rock stars stand up so we could appreciate them, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I think those are all the questions we have.
Thank you. Very proud.
All right, we're now moving on to item 3 of the agenda, which is petitions and communications portion, where we invite the public to make comments. Slurs, profanity, and harassment will not be tolerated. Should any speaker use unacceptable language, they may be directed to immediately surrender the remainder of their speaking time and may be restricted from public comment in the future. Public participation is governed by Board Policy 2.230, which states that at each regular and special open meeting, the members of the public and district employees may comment on or ask questions of the board subject to reasonable constraints and for a total time not to exceed 30 minutes. The individuals appearing before the board are expected to follow these guidelines. Number 1, address the board only at the appropriate time as indicated on the agenda and when recognized by the board president. Number 2, identify him or herself by name. Ordinarily, such comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. However, at the start of the public participation portion of the meeting, the board may shorten public comment to conserve time and give the maximum number of individuals an opportunity to speak. Number 3, conduct oneself with respect and civility toward others and otherwise abide by Board Policy 8.30, visitors to and conduct on school property. Number 4, requirements for the public comment section are that it's limited to 30 minutes. No person may speak more than 3 minutes, and speakers may not yield their time to other individuals. Requests for speaking time must be submitted on designated cards and turned into the designated staff. Those cards will be accepted up to 10 minutes before the scheduled beginning of the meeting. The person must indicate on the card which issue they intend to address and whether they will speak for or against the issue. The speaking order will be determined by subject and order of cards received. The same issue may not be addressed a second time until the opposite side on that subject has been heard. No subject may be spoken on a second time until all subjects have been heard at least one time. And the person speaking is responsible to limit comments to the issue indicated on their card or be declared out of order by the board president, which requires the speaker to lose the remainder of their speaking time. The board president shall have the authority to determine procedural matters regarding public participation, not otherwise defined in board policy. Number 6, the board will not respond to comments at the time of the board meeting. Comments requiring a response shall be the responsibility of the superintendent. And to ensure compliance with fire and safety regulations, the following rules will be enforced. Number 1, all members of the audience shall remain seated during the meeting except when recognized to address the Board of Education And number 2, when all public seating is exhausted, no further visitors will be allowed to enter the meeting. It's not appropriate to discuss matters that would otherwise be confidential in open meetings. And if you look to your left, you'll see two digital clocks. One shows the total time allotted to public comments, and one shows the total time for each speaker. Thank you for your cooperation with our guidelines. Our first speaker is Dee Edgerton, who is speaking in support of West leadership.
Y'all are funny. All right, so all of you have a packet in front of you with more of the information that I'm about to share about West Middle School and our leadership. So when we talk about leadership at West Middle School, we need to focus on the evidence, what's in front of us, the data, and you literally have that in front of you to look at. Under Ms. Bivens' leadership, our incidents of referrals have dropped by the thousands. So just a couple years ago, we were reporting thousands of referrals in one school year. In this school year, we are around 741 incidences of referrals, which that is, even from last year to this year, that is a 55% drop in where we were last year at this time. That's amazing. That is huge under a leadership of a principal who's only been in our building. This is her second year. The next thing I want to talk about is our truancy rate. So our truancy was one of the highest in the district, no lie. But we have managed to bring that under control under Ms. Bivens' leadership. We brought it down by 9%. Our chronic truancy rate has dropped by 9%. And as I've heard, that is the largest drop across middle schoolers in the district. So we've done that in 1 year. We're also seeing a lot of changes in behavior. So some of them I want to talk about is physical aggression and battery. In the last 2 years, that number has dropped 97%. That's huge for West. I want to talk about bullying. Bullying, we know that's a district-wide issue that we're all dealing with. And at West, that number has dropped again, 75%, under Ms. Bivens' leadership. Our top 3 behaviors have now moved to the bottom of the list. The top 3 behaviors that we saw in the past are no longer our top 3. They have moved. They're at the bottom under Ms. Bivens' leadership. The last time I was here, you might have remembered I talked about how over 50% of our students did not have certified math teachers. Man, that broke my heart to come and share that. But I will tell you that under her leadership again, she has dropped that number to almost 15%. 15% of our students is still high, not where we want to be, but that's a big change from over 50% where we were just a few short months ago. So as you know, the research shows that usually these changes take place in the 3 to 5 year range. But Ms. Bivens has managed to change a lot of these things and the climate and culture of our school in less than 2 years, because we're only a year and a half in of her leadership. I want to share some of the highlights. You also have a big old packet of letters in support for teachers that couldn't be here. And I can hear them back there. So I know we have some that are here, but we also have a lot that couldn't make it. And they wrote letters of support for Ms. Bivens in not changing leadership at West. One fact somebody found was that Ms. Bivens is the only BIPOC.
I'm sorry, your time has expired.
Oh, Lord, I knew that's going to happen. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Ricky Naylor, speaking in opposition to the number of Black and special education student discipline.
Don't start that time yet. Okay, just so you always think I'll just be criticizing y'all. I mean, it's some information out there also about the discipline. I mean, there's some story out there about you guys giving out these police SRO tickets again. I don't think that's true. They have not produced not one ticket, but I mean, that is out there, and it'll be nice if the district would just come forward and just say, you know what, we do not give out tickets, no more of these student tickets for behaviors in these schools. Now, of course, everybody up there knows about a lot of reform requests have been requested information about this Black student discipline. and also the discipline for special education students. Those are the two main things right now that this district should be focusing on, like getting those numbers down. Like I told you guys a long time ago that your black students are disciplined more than all the other students combined. Now that's ridiculous. For them to be having 23,000 incidents of discipline to the rest of the students, like about 19,000. Now, today also was an article in the paper about as far as like, you know, districts and how they being ranked with grades and all this stuff. Now, that district in Naperville was an A+ school district. Your school district was a C+ school district as far as, you know, as far as everything that's going on. Now, you guys talk about equity. What does equity mean to you guys? Now, Naperville had the same issue a few years ago with the black students being disciplined more than everybody else in that district. And what that board said was, they said, what the board said, it said, we are the decision makers. And it's quite possible that we might be contributing to the outcomes. That's what's before us, which is why we're looking into it. Are you guys looking into those numbers and seeing why they're so high? Why these black students are way up here and everybody else kind of like, you know, way down there below them? If you might not be looking into it, but you guys already know, though, somebody looking into it. I mean, even if these private lawyers don't find the answer, I'm pretty sure at some point, you know, the Attorney General got to knock on your door and say, Rockford, this has got to stop. You got to do something about this. Now, we know it's going to be tougher now. You're going to lose all these staff you got in these school buildings and stuff. How are you going to manage it now? If you're struggling right now, what are you going to do now with less staff? Now, and also, we not harassing these board members when you guys get saying about harassment. If you guys ignore us, then we entitled then to criticize you because we can't get no back and forth conversation with you guys. So don't say we can harass you guys. If you guys don't return emails, you don't return phone calls, then you go cry like, oh, we're being harassed.
All right, thank you. Your time's expired. Next speaker is Elizabeth Hand, speaking in opposition to the elimination of the Director of Elementary position.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Hand, and I'm an instructional coach at McIntosh Elementary. I reached out via email ahead of this meeting and appreciated the opportunity to connect with Ms. Pearson and Ms. Bennett. While I understand how busy you all are, it is always reassuring to know communication has been received. I'm here tonight to speak about the district's decision to eliminate the Director of Elementary Curriculum position and to share why this role and the leadership behind it matters so deeply to our students. For more than 7 years, our district relied on a literacy curriculum that was unresearched and unproven. During that time, students were not receiving instruction aligned with the science of reading, which had real consequences for learning outcomes. Mrs. Annie Pfeiffer was a second-grade teacher at the time, and she saw this problem long before it became a district-wide conversation. She recognized that the practices being encouraged were not working for her students. Instead of accepting it, she studied, she researched, and pushed herself to understand how to teach children to learn to read effectively. Her principal saw the impact of the work in her classroom, and when an instructional coach position became available at her school, he encouraged her to take on the role. As a coach, she helped other teachers in her building shift their practice. Then she became the Director of Elementary Curriculum, taking on one of the most important challenges our district faced, bringing coherence and research-based literacy instruction to every elementary school. Annie's work has always stayed closest to the classroom, supporting teachers, developing coaches, and ensuring that daily instruction reflects best practice. Her work directly impacts foundational literacy, the single most important skill our children need. Teachers trust Annie because she's walked the walk. Because of her leadership, schools like mine have seen real measurable growth in student outcomes. I've seen firsthand what happens when teachers are supported, instruction is aligned, and students are given what they need to become readers. As you consider difficult financial decisions, please consider impact. This role is a central office position that connects to classroom instruction and student outcomes on a daily basis. Eliminating it risks more than a budget line. It risks the momentum of work actively improving outcomes for students. Our students deserve instruction grounded in research. They deserve consistency, and they deserve leadership that is deeply committed to that work. I urge you to reconsider this decision, and not just the position, but the leadership of Mrs. Annie Pfeiffer, who has made this progress possible and continues to make a difference in the lives of teachers and students every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kevin Bruce, who's speaking regarding Ms. Bivens, Principal, West Middle School.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Bruce, and I have the honor of serving at West Middle School. Tonight, I don't just want to talk about a principal. I want to talk about a leader, one who understands the schools and not just the buildings, but ecosystems of people, pressure, potential, and purpose. Ms. Bivens leads with something that cannot be faked and cannot be taught overnight. She leads with presence. In a time where education is often reduced to numbers, data points, and performance metrics, she reminds us that the true work is human work. It's relational, it's daily, and it's deeply intentional. She sees students not as problems to solve, but as individuals to develop. She sees staff not as employees to manage, but as professionals to empower. And perhaps most importantly, she sees the long game. Because real change in a school building doesn't happen in a single initiative, a single meeting, or even a single year. It happens through consistency, through belief, through the quiet, steady decision to show up again and again and again with clarity and conviction. What I've witnessed under Ms. Bivens' leadership is a shift in how we talk about behavior, not as punishment, but as development. A shift in how we support students, not just academically, but socially and emotionally. A shift in how we hold ourselves accountable, not out of fear, but out of purpose. She creates an environment where expectations are clear, but so is support. Where structure exists, but so does grace. Where we are pushed, but never without being supported. And that balance is rare. As educators, we often talk about what students need to be successful. But the truth is, teachers need the same thing. We need leadership that is consistent. We need leadership that is visible. We need leadership that believes in the work, even when results aren't immediate. Ms. Bivens provides that, not through grand speeches or empty promises, but through action, through alignment, through showing up to work alongside us. And because of that, it raises the standard of everyone in the building, including me. So tonight, I simply want to say this: leadership matters. And when you have a leader who is grounded, intentional, and committed to both people and progress, you protect that, you support that, and you build around that. Because that's how schools grow. That's how systems improve, and ultimately, that's how students win. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Brad Lauman, who's speaking in opposition to the proposed elimination of the Director of Curriculum position.
President Carpenter, Vice President Bennett, Dr. Jarrett. First of all, I read the rules for what you can do and cannot do when you are presenting your talk. And it said that someone who represents a position that's already been spoken about, which is the support for Annie Pfeiffer as the Director of Elementary Curriculum, has already been stated in a way that's more eloquent than I could ever do. I would like to withdraw my statement.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Next speaker is John Tack Brantley, who's speaking in support of Project 2025, page 159, Trip to Monk's Mound Pyramid in Illinois.
Good evening, board members, and most of all, those who are here. I'm Brother John Tack Brantley, and on behalf of West Middle School, I was there at West High School. Under the Turning Point program, we addressed the kids who were suspended out of school. Instead of them going home from school, they came into our program, and we worked with them so they wouldn't fall behind in their grades. And we're looking at wanting to do that once again. But what I want to bring to your attention is giving you a little history. Last week was St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick was a Moor from Morocco. He was an indentured servitude in England. He got captured with two of the other family members and got taken to England. They was there for over several years. When he escaped from England, from the Irish, he came back to England. He became a pastor. They wanted to turn the Irish to Catholics. So what they did, they sent him back. Lo and behold, you run from leave your former slave master, you go back to your former slave master, and you turn them into Catholics. Now, I want to bring you to what we want to do this year. This year, we got 3 pyramids here in Illinois. One of them is in East St. Louis. The pyramids was built by the Mississippi Indians. We wanted to take a group of our people. Everybody I asked have never heard that we had 3 pyramids here. Fact check me. We want to be able to show them the pyramids. The pyramids was built in 600 A.D. The bricks weighed 200 tons. How was they able to lift 200-ton bricks to the top of the pyramid? That just shows you how smart and educated our peoples was back then. But mind you, the colonials came in and they massacred the Mississippi Indians. The Mississippi Indians is known as Chiricahuas. They cover most of the eastern part of United States. The pyramids was dedicated and they ransacked the pyramids. I want to show our people we can't depend on the white man to teach our history. We have to be the one to teach our history. We have to be the one. How can you tell a bank robber that he done robbed a bank 20 years ago, he going to go and turn himself into the police? No, you can't ask no bank robber to teach your history. We have to be the ones to teach our history. And then we talk about culture. When Dr. Reed is Cabinet Chief Culture and Student Engagement Transformation Educational. Now, in order to transform, in order to be brothers and sisters for change,
right, thank you. Your time has expired.
You got to work with the community. And without working with the community, you can't win. You're not doing anything.
Okay, thanks. Our next speaker is Sharonice Moss, who's speaking in support of admin and educators of RPS 205.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, they're right behind me. My name is Sharonice. I'm in 10th grade. I go to East High School. According to Teachers of Tomorrow, having the right resources is good for reaching students and their education. But in my first hour, they give us the papers and they expect us to know how to do it. But we can't do it if you don't explain it. But this also leads to my second thing. According to the articles, planning good structured classes and classwork is good for the students and teens in my classes. And teachers always give out their personal life. Keep your personal life private and your school life, which is leading up to my conclusion. This is why If teachers don't have the right resources, they won't be able to help us be successful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Anthony Gonzalez, who is speaking in support of how bullying and mental health is affecting his fellow peers and RPS youth.
All right. My name is Anthony Gonzalez, and I'm an 8th grader from Risa Middle School. I'm here today to speak and talk upon the topic of bullying and the effects of it. School boards in the Rockford Public School District are often ignoring the bullying because they are quick to blame the victim and push off the problems. Our major goal as a group is to bring forth problems of bullying and better enforce the rules to better protect the innocent lives of kids and future adults/young adults. Being bullied and the kids that are taught that bullying is normalized, almost every day I see bullying within our district. This is not acceptable. Kids are suffering and going through depression. I've been bullied almost all my life. This has caused my depression. I've also have seen my friends go through anxiety and depression due to bullying. Bullying doesn't just affect how kids view themselves. It also affects kids' learning. Kids, such as I, can't focus on learning due to worrying about being bullied or worrying about if I look or act like I fit in. Kids are vulnerable to stress and anxiety, which is caused by bullying. As a bigger, or as people call me, fat person, I have to I hate to have people have to worry about what others think about them. Me and others, kids or adults, work out because we don't feel welcomed in society. It's not just people of under or overweight, but people that are discriminated and judged by their religion, color, education, disabilities, and much more. We are human beings and need to act like it. Why do we even make fun of others? It's insane to think it's okay to make others feel down about themselves. Think of the millions of kids crying in their rooms because they're different from others. I was once a kid who worried and cried about being normal. I now realize I no longer have to, due to constant pressure and suffering, that I've learned to accept my bullies. This is not acceptable. We shouldn't teach kids to learn to accept bullying. We are humans, not objects to be judged at. We split apart due to our sexuality, race, religion, and much more stuff we can't control.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your statements. Our next speaker is, I believe it's Fadia Rowe, who's speaking in support of mental health and how it is affecting our RPS youth and his peers.
My name is Fadia Rowe. I'm 17. I'm a senior at Auburn High School, and I am here with the Youth Advocacy Board. There is not enough mental health support for teens. We do not feel seen, heard, loved, or supported. In fact, 1 in 5 adolescents currently have a diagnosed mental or behavioral health conditions. Youth have voices and emotions but don't feel safe enough to express them because adults overlook youth's feelings as if they are nothing. Have you ever felt unwanted or unwelcome to the point where you hate doing your job? That's what school is like. Youth needs to be heard because we are the future. For example, Jalea Thompson was a middle schooler at Eisenhower. She was bullied to the point where she unalived herself. If you research her name and story, which I did, RPS 205 says they interviewed students and staff and found no proof of bullying. We need more resources. We go to school for 9 to 10 months a year for 8 hours plus after school activities, not to mention what goes on at home. For example, I'm a senior who was denied a 504 plan my freshman year with 2 diagnosed disorders and wasn't able to get one until this year's second semester. Meaning during all that time, my trauma only increased. I came to school every day with the feeling of I don't matter, nobody cares, because it genuinely felt like nobody cared. And I'm 100% positive that I am not the only student feeling this way. I prepared a poem. I wrote this poem when I was 14 and a freshman. Give respect where respect is due. You treat us like animals feeding us dog food. There's absolutely nothing special about this school. You think since you own Kappa, we have to follow special rules. Well, let me remind you of your neighborhood and how your placement is placed in the ghetto. School should not feel like a prison. We come here to learn and listen, not be treated like less than human. Don't get into drugs, but your stress is the reason we stress to have it in the bathroom stalls, crying over missing assignments that's lowered our grade. Get told you can't go here, you can't do that. Well, just trying to find a microwave. Get scanned, checked, and patted down. You're good to go just to get chained down. I'm tired of feeling like a prisoner to my own feelings. My surroundings have held me captive tightly in a metal box that has spikes on it when you close it, scratching at the parts of my body I let relax. I have to get up. I have to do this, then that, then just stay awake a little longer and your work is almost done. If the time is not managed, then you can't manage yourself properly. Unexpected expectations for us accepted. I'm not a dog on all fours barking for some respect, man. Why should I be okay with having my freedom taken away? Staring at my paper in a state of distress. Can you just let me be? I'm not causing any harm. Ignoring others at all costs, trying to keep my peace when you're constantly tearing me piece by piece. Shreds of paper I am, but of course, even as a shred, respect and follow our rules because it never ends. Thank you.
Thank you all. I did want to recognize the last 3 speakers were from the City of Rockford Youth Advocacy Board, and if any of the members want to, all of the members who are here, if you want to stand up and be recognized, that would be nice. Thank you very much. We're now moving on to the item 4, which is the action or items that proceeded through the Performance and Monitoring Committee. Item 4A is the charter school reauthorization for Galapagos. May I have a motion and a second to approve item 4A, the Galapagos charter school reauthorization?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on item 4A, the Galapagos charter school reauthorization?
Yes, Board President Carpenter, I would like to make a motion to amend to approve item 4B with an additional unconditional year added to the term of the agreement.
Okay, we're on item 4A right now, and so we'll be moving to 4B next.
My apologies.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Sure. Is there any discussion on item 4A, the Galapagos charter school reauthorization? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Tanford?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to item 4B, which is the Jackson Charter School reauthorization. May I have a motion and a second to approve item 4B, the Jackson Charter School reauthorization?
So moved.
Second.
All right, thank you. Is there any discussion on item 4B, the Jackson Charter School reauthorization?
Point of information, President Carpenter. So the motion that I'm about to make will it also include Galapagos? The information that I was provided, I thought that they were all going to be grouped together.
Oh, they're separate items. So,
Okay.
And we just passed 4A for Galapagos.
Okay. So I would like to move to make the motion be amended to approve item 4B with an additional unconditional year added to the term of the agreement.
All right, and so your motion is to amend the motion that's on the floor to add an additional 1 year to the agreement.
Correct. So
I'm just thinking if we,
Now there needs to be a second.
okay, so is there a second on Ms. Pearson's motion to amend the Jackson Charter School reauthorization by adding 1 year to the agreement?
Second.
All right, so Ms. McCall has seconded the motion to amend. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend the original motion? So this is a motion or a discussion on Ms. Pearson's motion to add 1 year to the authorization.
Can we discuss this to know the reason why?
Yeah,
And why not?
Sure. So that's what the discussion would be.
Okay.
And I
All
see
right,
Ms. Pearson has her light on, so
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
sure she'll.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, in comparison to the other schools, why, or what's?
So the original ask was 5 years because Dr. Wren was new. There's been a change in the central administration. There was a task force created. There was many things in place to, better prepare or support the charter schools that just did not take place just because of change. And given the circumstances, and I've given much thought to this. It supports our mission and where it relates to education, and it does not grant the 5 years that was asked, but it takes away that a pressure that was also expressed. It literally take a year to kind of get things in place, and we have previously supported other areas just in the mainstream RPS 205, additional time for improvement or training or, further educating those that needed to be to implement particular parts of curriculum. And this just adds additional year to remove the pressure. Sometimes we have a tendency to restate an item just in a different way. So it just simply removes the condition and give them 1 extra year with the expectation of growth and improvement outside and instead of the 5 years that was actually asked the board to do. So it just removes the condition and give 1 extra year.
Some of the other charter schools also requested the same, extension due to matters that they weren't able to control, or just Jackson?
Jackson, President Paul.
I did want to just mention real quick, that Dr. Ebony Wren is here from Jackson. She was unable to make it to the committee of the whole meeting where the other charter school leaders were invited to. So that's why she's here tonight. But the asks were different from each charter school, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Stanford.
Sorry. Dr. Gallagher, can you speak to the rubric that was used to determine what years we were offering each of the charters? Because that's where the 3 years came in, right?
different terms for each of the charters, depending on how they scored on that rubric, so that they're equitably all being compared apples to apples. So when you look at the 2 years that were for Jackson and Galapagos, and it was a 3-year that was for Legacy, those were the maximum recommended terms for those schools based off where they had all scored on the rubric. The rubric included the site visits and visiting all the classrooms, interviewing the stakeholders, and a final score out of those visits, which was a minimum at 2 days at each of the schools. It was 3 days for Galapagos because of it having 2 different sites. But then we also looked at academic criteria. We looked at culture and climate criteria, and also financial and board governance criteria. So at the end of all that criteria being weighted together, each of the 3 schools got a final score, and we asked the board to approve the maximum term that's recommended based off of where they had scored on that rubric. The term that we provide to the schools when they reauthorize, regardless of what the number of years are, because of the autonomy that is given to charter schools, the length of the term is really the only mechanism for accountability that the district has with the charter schools. And it's not to say if it's 2 years that they would have to be revoked in terms of their authorization. It just means that we would go through the process of accountability for seeing where their performance is at, visiting the schools, talking to stakeholders, giving them a score again to see how they've done over the course of the term.
Thank you so much.
And after that, we had a discussion, and then we added a way to earn an extra year, correct?
That is correct. We took the feedback that we had received from the charters, and we actually went beyond what was the maximum recommended on the rubric. So the charters can go, so Galapagos and Jackson could go from 2 to 3 years, and Legacy could go from 3 to 4 years in 2 different ways. One, if they improve their IAR proficiency in both ELA and math, and 2, if they improve their summative designation rating with the state board.
Thank you. Ms. Pearson?
So I clearly understand the rubric that was used, and we have really focused on the expectations. I clearly understand the autonomy. So that there's no confusion there, but I think that one of the areas that an opportunity for board members to take into consideration when we make decisions is every component. So we have really, it appears that we are really sticking to what we expect of the administrator of the charter schools, but we are not giving much consideration on everything that we put in place for the support of the charter schools, and literally hearing the administrators ask. Now, that may have been a bit much to ask, which is out of reach for some of us to agree upon, but that conditional, just that conditional, really doesn't give them, doesn't remove the pressure of having to meet the expectations. So I'm asking the board members to take into consideration what administration did not do and the changes that occurred in administration that ultimately could have contributed to the progress of our charter schools, specifically Jackson. So again, the motion is additional year without condition.
I guess I just would clarify real quick. Is the motion to, is it motion just to make it 3 years with no opportunity to add a 4th year, or is it?
So
go ahead.
So they were originally given 2 years.
And originally it was 2 years. And then they added a
And then
condition.
they added a condition, and I am asking that the condition be removed and the added year be provided
Okay, thank you.
without condition.
Thank you for clarifying that. All right. Is there any other discussion on the motion to amend the motion? All right, so we'll call the roll on the motion to amend the motion, and then we'll vote on the original motion or the amended motion.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Sorry, I have a clerk. Can you restate again, restate again? There's too many amends in there.
The
Please.
Do you want me to state it, or do you want to?
This is the vote on the motion to amend, on Ms. Pearson's motion to amend the original motion.
No.
Mr. Carpenter?
No.
Ms. Haley?
No.
Ms. Stanford?
No.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
No.
The motion fails for 5 nays, 2 yeas.
Thank you. Then we'll be moving on to the original motion. Is there any other discussion on the original motion, which is to approve the Jackson Charter School reauthorization as recommended? Seeing no other discussion on that, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Abstain.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 abstain.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4C, which is the Legacy Charter School reauthorization. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the legacy, item 4C, the Legacy Charter School reauthorization?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the Legacy Charter School reauthorization, item 4C? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're now moving on to item 4D, which is the bilingual 3-year strategic plan, and Ms. Poncio Jordan will present that.
Hi, good evening. Joanna Poncio Jordan, Executive Director for Bilingual Services. It is my pleasure today to bring forward to you and present the Multilingual Department 3-year plan. So we'll begin first by providing an overview of our actual EL student population here in Rockford. So in Rockford, we have over 7,000 students, 556 monitored students, which means that those are the students who have exited within the past 2 years, and then over 1,000 students who have fully exited, which means they are no longer being monitored. The next number in the center is going to show us our district exit rate. And so when we compare that to the state, we're currently right now averaging a 4% exit rate, which means those are the students who are exiting ESL services, compared to the state average of 7.1%. Across the board, we can also see another number to kind of point out is that we have almost 1,600, if not a little over 1,600 students who have been an EL student or officially receiving services for over 7 years. I think the one thing that I do want to point out with that is with the data, it indicates that while we're successfully supporting our students, we do have an opportunity to strengthen how we accelerate language acquisition and how we are moving our students toward proficiency and exiting at a higher rate. Another important data point, I think, is the beauty of our language diversity here in Rockford. And so we have over 75 languages that are spoken. These here list our top 10 languages and the number that we have that represent all of our languages. Here is a nice snapshot also of a growth of our students that we've had over the last under 10 years. And so we can see that the district has had a steady increase from 2016 to 2025. We've grown almost 11% in under 9 years. And when we compare that to the state, we see that the state has also had a steady growth. And even with the state, though, the state still falls shorter than what our own RPS EL population has been serving. So our district is serving a disproportionately higher and increasing number of English learners each year. This trend reinforces how important it is for us to continue to expand our capacity to ensure that we're strengthening our programs and meeting the diverse needs of our students. Here's some important information, and when we look towards our English language learners and actually their progress to proficiency, which is a data point that we use for the state. And so the progress to proficiency is essentially a data point that the state uses in order to measure our students' achievement every year. The goal is 100 points per year. The 100 points per year is going to get our students closer to that exit rate. And so when we actually look at some of our information here, we can see that at our elementary schools, we're following between 70s and 80s, so that's where we're starting strongest. In our middle schools, we tend to kind of go down to the 30, 40s, and so we do have a couple outliers there. At our high schools, then we go down to about 20, 30s. So what we see is that we start off strong, but what we want to do is we want to make sure that we continue strong, ensuring that our students are able to sustain this growth into middle school and then into high school. Basically what this tells us is when we look at our student population, we know that language shouldn't be a barrier, right? So instead of actually looking at it as a barrier, we want to make sure that we're looking at it as an asset and taking advantage of the linguistic diversity that our students bring. One of the things that we have to acknowledge is that when our students are not fully valued, including their language, it's going to impact and it's going to show up in all of these other measurable outcomes, such as student attendance, such as truancy, such as grades. And so what we know is that we want to ensure that we value everything that our students bring and make sure that we acknowledge that for our students. What I'm going to present to you is the strategic plan that outlines how we want to ensure that our multilingual students are graduating prepared, confident, and more importantly, proud of who they are and the languages that they bring. So what we know is we need to view language as an asset. So knowing that and sending that message to our students and our families, multilingualism is a strength. In our district, we know that we want to build upon the languages that they're already bringing. And we can do that through knowing that we're going to build language as a bridge. So for our students, that language is going to connect them to their heritage, to their culture, and ensuring that our students are keeping that language, acknowledging that language, lets them know that we don't want you to disconnect that bridge, we want you to keep it going. That diversity piece. It's important for us to acknowledge that we're all different and it's okay to be different. Language is a part of diversity and we want to make sure and honor that. And then the last piece with our lifelong multilingual skills. As we saw earlier, we have over 75 languages represented here in our district. How can we make sure and empower our students to make sure and they actually are becoming these global citizens with the languages that they already have? Not only to maintain the languages, but they could even add any additional languages while they're here, learning from their peers. So in order to develop a 3-year strategic plan, one of the first things that we needed was to ground our vision and mission. And so in order for us to ensure that we have a common work going forward, we wanted to ensure that we all had understood exactly where we want to be by building a common vision. And then the second piece is the mission. How are we going to get there? So ultimately we know we want to value our students, and we want to make sure that we're building capacity and we're building structures that are going to help do that along the way. So how are we going to do that? We're going to highlight how we want to make sure and move and create this path forward. So together, what we know is that when we use all of our different elements, we're going to create conditions that are going to create meaningful and sustained success for all of our students. So in order for us to strengthen programming, what we did before we actually created the 3-year program, we took a 3-step approach. And so that just means we're going to look at, before actually creating, we have to step back a little bit and ensure that we're all on the same page. So the first place where we start is establishing that shared vision. And so we have to be able to launch those district-wide conversations of ensuring that we all understand what all of these multilingual programs are, ensure that we understand what the requirements are, ensure that we're having not only school-based meetings, but also district-wide meetings where we're having these conversations, and ensure that we're all on the same page about multilingualism and the assets that it brings. Ultimately, what we do is once we have a shared vision and a shared outcome, we can ensure that our outcome then is going to be that our staff is more clear on what our programs are, what the buy-in is, and ensure that we have consistent programs and consistent the way that we deliver services for all of our students. We also want to make sure that we strengthen connections in practice. So in order to strengthen connections in practice, we know that everybody has to be all in. And so this is supporting our administrators, supporting our staff, ensuring that our students, our staff also have a voice in what this instruction is looking like. And also ensuring that we're providing that targeted professional development. And so as we saw earlier with the dramatic increase of multilingual learners across the years, ensuring that our staff has the tools and has the development and understanding of how to meet culturally and linguistically all of the different languages and cultures that we bring to the table is very important. Ultimately, we want our outcomes to be stronger student engagement and ensuring that our students belong. Our third piece, of course, is as we lay out a foundation, we want to build out a system that's leading for systemic change. As we know, we can't just come in and do a one and done. We have to ensure that we start from the ground up, creating a strong foundation and ensuring that our systems are in place to meet the needs of all of our students. And so in order to do that, we want to make sure that we continue to develop our leadership across the board. We want to make sure that we're aligning already with what is required per ISB and what our program requirements are. And across the board, sharing our progress with our board, making sure that we're sharing progress with our families and our staff. All right, and so as we begin with our year one, which is this year, FY26, we start with foundation and clarity. And so essentially what we do with our foundation and clarity is ensure that people really understand what our program models are. What are the different programs that we have? And as we go through, we also align with our ISB standards and what they're required. One of our focuses for this past school year has been transitioning our bilingual program into a one-way dual language program, and to also ensure that we're paving and creating pathways towards the seal of biliteracy. And so in order to do that, we make sure and we launch curriculum teams and ensure that we're informing and communicating how to reach the seal of biliteracy and what that actually requires. So here you can see what the pathways to biliteracy are. So this has been one of our works for this school year. At the end of last school year, we had 38 students who obtained the seal of biliteracy. One of the things that we want to make sure and communicate is that the seal of biliteracy is actually not just for EL students, it's for all students. And so it's a way to honor and acknowledge and give merit to the students who know more than one language. And so here we see the different pathways to biliteracy. It can be the English learner pathway, which means that you once were classified as a student who needed to learn English. It could be a dual language pathway, and so it could be a student who's actually enrolled in a dual language program, whether that be a native Spanish, native Arabic speaker, or even an English speaker. It could be a native speaker. We have many students who are Swahili speakers who actually are not in a bilingual program, but we do encourage them to keep their language. And then another way is also via the world language approach. And so this is students who have English as their first language, but actually take on another language in high school, and they can actually go that route as well and graduate with the seal of biliteracy. Into our second year, what we want to do is we want to ensure that we're building consistency and support. So after we build the foundation, we want to move forward with instructional fidelity. This is going to lead us then into our tier 2 and ensuring that we now have consistently built upon our tier 1 programs and moving forward to tier 2. We also want to be more consistent with our professional development. And so professional development means that it's intentional and it's ongoing and it's not just a one-stop shop, but we understand where we have come from and where we're going to go next. Another important piece too, I think with this is as we're collecting all of our important resources, to have an instructional resource hub of different languages, especially to be able to reach all of our multilingual families. For the third year of growth and impact, we want to continue to expand. And so one of the pieces that we continue to expand is using our data and refining our multilingual tiers and building out multilingual supports. And so continuing to expand Tier 2, developing Tier 3 supports is important for our multilingual learners, and that does have to be done in a different way. And how we read our data for our multilingual students is different than how we read data for our monolingual students. We also want to continue to strengthen our alignment between our special services and also our multilingual services. We have a lot of students who are dually identified, and so ensuring that we're identifying what the students' needs are for those students that are dually identified who require both special education and any bilingual or ESL is important. And so at the end of FY28, we want to have a refined multilingual MTSS system where we better understand what the needs of our students are as they move through the multilingual or the multi-tiered system of supports. We also want to make sure that we pull our dual language data to see how our students are doing right now as we transition into the elementary. Look and see how our students are doing and what the possibility is as we look to possibly expand into the middle school. And then finally, of course, our multilingual family engagement, ensuring that our families have more engagement at our schools and they have the resources needed to be able to participate and join in their child's education. So ultimately, by the end of FY28, what we want ultimately is we want improved academic and language outcomes for all of our students. We need to have research-based models of multilingual program across all of our schools. We need to have a clear understanding of what we need to do for our students and what's required for the state. And the most important thing is that buy-in, is that we know that we're going to move beyond compliance. What we're doing is what's best for our students, and we're going to create strong programs that are research-based and that are best for families and students. And of course, creating those clear pathways to the seal of biliteracy, where not only our English language learners, but all of our students are very clear in that that is really what we want to have our students end with. We need to make sure that we're going to take advantage of the different languages that we have available to us and ensuring that the students are celebrated for the diversity that they bring. So our next steps as we move forward is the seal of biliteracy. Of course, we're taking a look at that. We want to make sure that our numbers continue to grow. We're reinventing our program. So we've taken a deeper dive into our high school ESL, middle school ESL, bilingual Arabic program, and also our one-way dual language program, and ensuring that those are reinvented to better meet the needs of our students. And of course, continuing our professional development for our bilingual and one-way dual language staff. So as I close, I just want to emphasize that this, of course, is not going to happen in isolation. It depends on collaboration across our board, our district leadership, our educators, our family, and our community. And so I appreciate the opportunity to present our 3-year plan, and we're excited about all the work that is taking place. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions? Does not. Thank you very much for that presentation. It's very informative. Moving on to item 5, which is the consent agenda for the Performance and Monitoring Committee. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in section 5?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any consent items in section 5 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? All right, seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're moving on to agenda item 6, items that proceeded through the Governance Committee. Item 6A is a revision to Board Policy 6.310 for high school credit for non-district experience, course substitutions, and re-entering students. May I have a motion and a second to approve item 6A, the revisions to Board Policy 6.310?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on item 6A? Ms. Pearson, did you have your? No. Thank you. Would you please call the roll for items 6A?
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6B. Is there a motion and a second to approve item 6B, which is revision to Board Policy 7.180, which is preventing bullying, intimidation, and harassment?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on item 6B? Ms. Bennett.
Just to make mention, whenever the public is able to access the policy 7.180, a few new things have been added. So order of protection status is included in here as a protection category, and very specific definitions regarding artificial intelligence, cyberbullying, digital replica, and just a few items to just make note of. That's all.
Thank you. Seeing no other discussion, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6C. Is there a motion and a second to approve item 6C, which is Board Policy 7.290, which is suicide and depression awareness and prevention?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on item 6C? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Now moving on to agenda item 7, which is the consent agenda for Governance Committee. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in section 7?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any consent items in section 7 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, would you please call the roll for the items in section 7?
Can we have discussion or make a statement or no?
It's consent, so if you want to make a statement, you can pull an item. And
Okay, I'd like to pull letter B.
all right, thank you. Can you please call the roll for items that have not been pulled, which are 7A and 7C?
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Consent item 7B was pulled for separate consideration. Is there any discussion on consent item 7B? Ms. Bennett?
Yes, so item 7B is regarding the ASME bus MOU regarding the integrity of the bargaining unit regarding outsourcing. I just wanted to give a shout out to the ASME unit for all of their hard work and partnership in getting this MOU together. So thank you to all of you. Thank you to the RPS team, who I know also spent a lot of extra time on this. I think it's very important, and I just really appreciate everybody's very quick work, and I'm really excited about our plans moving forward. So that's all.
Thank you. Seeing no other discussion, would you please call the roll for item 7B?
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 8, which is items that proceeded through the Planning and Development Committee. Item 8A, may I have a motion and a second to approve item 8A, which is the amendment to the contract with Hagney Architects for Design Services at STEAM Academy at Haskell.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8B, may I have a motion and a second to approve item 8B, which is the memorandum of understanding with the Rockford Park District regarding Terry Lee Wells Park.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8C, may I have a motion and a second to approve item 8C, program expansion 6 to 8 curriculum STEAM/IB.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're moving on to agenda item 9, which is the planning and development consent portion of our meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in section 9?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any consent items in section 9 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're moving on to item 10 of the agenda, which is the closed session consent items. Closed session and consent items include item 10A, the residency hearing officer report regarding students BC and AC's family residency dispute. Item 10B, which is workers' compensation settlement for MB. Item 10C is notice of charges and dismissal of a tenured teacher, Jacob Weirmeyer. Item 10D is resolution authorizing honorable dismissal of teachers. Item 10E is resolution authorizing honorable dismissal of educational support personnel. And item 10F is the HR organizational report. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in section 10, the closed session consent?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any closed session consent items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Ms. Pearson?
D and E.
Thank you. Can you please call the roll for items that were not pulled? So that's 10A, 10B, 10C, and 10F.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 10D was pulled for separate consideration, and 10E also was, but I think we'll vote one at a time, though, because, right, okay. So we'll start with item 10D. Can you please call the roll for item 10D?
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
No.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
No.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
No.
The motion passes with 4 yeses, 3 noes.
All right, moving on to item 10E, which was pulled for separate consideration. Can you please call the roll for item 10E?
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
No.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 no.
All right, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 11, which is student discipline suspensions, appeals, and expulsions. Item 11A is student B0008X-26, who would be expelled for 2 calendar years from the date of board action, which is March 24th, 2026 through March 23rd, 2028. Item 11B, which is student P0052X-26, who would be expelled for 2 calendar years from the date of board action, March 24th, 2026 through March 23rd, 2028. Item 11C, which is student P0053X-26, who would be expelled for 2 calendar years from the date of board action, March 24th, 2026 through March 23rd, 2028. Item 11D is student P0054X-26, who would be expelled for 2 calendar years from the date of board action, March 24th, 2026 through March 23rd, 2028. Item 11E is P0055X-26, who would be expelled for 2 calendar years from the date of board action, March 24th, 2026 through March 23rd, 2028. Item 11F, student P0061X-26, who would be expelled for 2 calendar years from the date of board action, March 24th, 2026 through March 23rd, 2028. Item 11G, student B0011X-26, who would be expelled for 2 calendar years from the date of board action, which is March 24th, 2026 through March 23rd, 2028. Item 11H, which is student T0004X-26, who would be expelled for the remainder of 2025-26 school year through the first semester of the 2026-2027 school year. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the items in section 11, student expulsions and suspension appeals?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Are there any items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? I would ask to pull item 11H
11A.
and 11A for Ms. Pearson, please. Can you please call the roll for the items that were not pulled for separate consideration? So that's 11B through 11G.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 11A was pulled for separate consideration. Would you please call the roll for item 11A?
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
No.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 no.
Thank you. Item 11H was also pulled for separate consideration. Can you please call the roll for item 11H?
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Abstain.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 abstain.
Thank you. Moving on to item 12, which is the closed session consent items for student discipline, EIAs. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the items in section 12?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration?
She said it's not 2 calendar years, it's through the entire 26, 27 school year.
Okay, thank you. All right. Can someone make a motion to reconsider the vote on 11G?
Also moved.
Thank you. And then a second on that motion, please.
Second.
Okay, and then what we would do is vote on the motion to reconsider 11G, and if that passes, we'll go back and restate on the record what the actual term is. So, if you can call the roll for the motion to reconsider 11G when you have a second, or whenever you.
I have a clarifying question. Sorry, on my notes, I wrote down 2 years, so I wrote that down as the term, but that's not correct?
No, that's not correct.
Okay,
The requested term was the remainder of this year and all of next year.
okay.
All right, if you can call the roll on the motion to reconsider 11G.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So can I please have a motion to approve item 11G, student B0011X-26, who would be expelled for the remainder of the 2025-26 school year through the entire 2026-27 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Can you please call the roll?
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, can I have a motion and a second to approve the items in section 12, closed session consent item? Excuse me, we did have a motion. And it was seconded. All right, thank you. Can you please call the roll then on 12? On the motion to approve the items in section 12, closed session consent items, student discipline EIA.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Apologies, I just want to make sure that I can still pull, because we're just calling the roll, right?
No, I forgot to ask that.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Should we?
Yes. Can we redo that, please? Yeah, can we have a motion to?
I make a motion to reconsider the items in section 12, closed session consent as consent items, student discipline EIAs.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Lord.
All right, can you call the roll on the motion to reconsider 12, I guess, which wasn't completed, but.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Ms. Chavez.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm going to starting 12 over. Can I have a motion and a second to approve item in section 12?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any items that board members would like to have pulled for separate consideration? Ms. Bennett?
Letter M.
Thank you. Can you please call the roll for the items that were not pulled for separate consideration?
Ms. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Ms. Haley,
Yes.
Ms. Stanford,
Yes.
Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Ms. Chavez,
Yes.
Ms. McCall.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 12M was pulled for separate consideration. Can you please call the roll for item 12M?
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Ms. Haley,
Yes.
Ms. Stanford,
Yes.
Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Ms. Chavez,
Yes.
Ms. McCall,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett.
No.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 no.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 13, which is the superintendent's report. Dr. Jarrett.
Yes, I'd like to turn it over to our student representative, Karina, to share her perspective. The floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Karina Garcia, and I'm a Running Start student from Rockford East High School. I'm in my final year as a senior, and I'm amazed at the opportunities this district has allowed myself to obtain throughout the past 12 years. Although becoming a Running Start student was seen as a little bit challenging in one particular way, and that was cumulative finals. I viewed and experienced myself lacking in certain study areas when finals or midterms week was approaching, because it was so fresh to me. However, I believe that if cumulative finals or sorts of exams were implemented into our final or last couple of weeks within our semesters at high schools, that they would better prepare us for higher education after high school, or even us Running Start students, so that we were greater exposed to a curriculum like so.
Thank you very much. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you. The next item is agenda item 14, which gives the opportunity for board member discussion. Are there any board member comments, action steps, other business, new business, agenda recommendations, or any other matters to discuss? I did just want to take a minute to recognize and thank Dr. Brown for spending a lot of time in the last couple months informing the community about the sales tax referendum. And I know he got some feedback, and I think we'll probably be discussing that sometime in the future. But I know Dr. Brown spent a lot of time doing that, and I appreciate that. So thank you. If there's no other business before the board, I would take a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We will be at Lewis Lemon for Committee of the Whole in 2 weeks. Have a good night.